Hello, everybody. Today we're going to talk about spring Richachara. So, Richachara is the rituals we do each season. So, in Ayurveda, we break it down into three seasons. We have the Kapha season, which is the end of winter and the beginning of spring. And then we have the Pitta season, which is summer, maybe a little bit of the end of spring, a little bit of the beginning of fall. And then we have the Vata time of the year, which is the end of fall and the beginning of winter. And right now we have entered into the Kapha season. And this, it has the qualities of being heavy, moist, cold, and stable. And when we want to align with nature, the best way to do that is just go walk outside your door and go get into nature and see what's happening, because that is the way that we too are being affected. So if we go out into nature right now, we might notice that there are flowers blooming, the trees are budding, the wildlife is starting to have babies, and there's probably a lot of rain and water, and basically it should be probably making mud. And this could also be considered like the muddy, heavy time of the year. And so anytime that we have this like heavy, moist, cold, stable environment, then we are likely to go out of balance. And the ways that we go out of balance is that we may have allergies, congestion, or water retention. So, one of the ways that I like to look at this is when we were in the Vata season, which was the end of fall and the beginning of winter, we were probably deciding that we needed to put on a little bit of extra weight in order to stay warm through the winter season. So many of us probably put on like 5 to 10 pounds, which is totally normal and fantastic. And that is exactly what we should be doing. But now that we're in spring and we're moving from that lighter time of the year to the heavier time of the year, we don't need any more of this kapha accumulation, and actually is starting to weigh us down. And it comes in the form of congestion and water retention. And so that's why we get allergies this time of the year. That's why we get these like deep lung coffee things this time of the year, because that's like the kapha, too much kapha being expressed. And so now's the time when we're trying to like melt away that winter. And then another way this shows up is dull digestion and sluggishness. So we've been now that we're feeling heavy and things are heavy in general, like our digestion feels heavy too, and it slows down, and that will totally affect the way that we're feeling and the way that we're going to want to eat during this time of the year. And then lastly, we might be feeling heavier emotions like depression, and that a lot of the times is from like, we've heard of the term seasonal, or not seasonal, just seasonal depression. And, a lot of us are been deprived of vitamin D for many months now, and our reserves are ran dry. And then, we've got a lot of this heaviness. So it's only natural that we might be feeling a little bit more depressed and thoughts might be a little bit heavier. And so, in order for us to bring a lot of this back into balance, we want to apply the opposite. So, let's go back. I said that kapha time of the year is heavy, moist, cold, and stable. And so, we're going to apply the opposite, which means we are going to apply light, dry, warm, and mobile. And I think I said it was warm and stable, but it's cold and stable, warm and mobile. So we're adding the exact opposite elements in order to bring balance. So this is a list of some of the things that you can do in the spring, some of the spring rituals that you can start to do now in order to bring some balance. So I'm going to go down the list and I'll just go and explain each one a little further. But we want warm, light cooked meals. So during the Vata season, this is when we were trying to cook our meals to be a little bit heavier so we could bring more stability in, because that time of the year was light. So we wanted to add the heavy, but now it's heavy. So we want to add the light. So instead of cooking our vegetables all the way through, now we're going to do more of like an al dente, like a steaming of the vegetables. And carrots and celery and many vegetables are actually really hard to digest raw. And I know there's like the raw food diet fad, and I'm not like saying that whether it's bad or it's good, but food is actually quite hard to digest when it's completely raw. And so therefore we don't actually get all of the nutrients from it. And our digestion has to work so hard just to like process that food that it's almost not really like worth the reward. And so this is when we're just gonna like lightly steam our food. We don't want it raw, but we also don't want it heavy like we were having it in the winter. And then bitter leafy greens like uh, arugula and chard and spinach would be wonderful this time of year. Anything that's bitter. Think bitter. Bitter is drying. And so bitter will cleanse. That's like drying the winter inside of you. And then asparagus is great this time of year. Radishes are very cleansing. We want to reduce dairy and meat. So in the winter time, that's when we would want to eat more of the dairy and meat. And hopefully in the winter, you did eat more dairy and meat. And if you did do that, by the time you get to spring, you're not feeling like you're not craving as many of like the heavier foods at this point. Like hopefully if you ate heavier during the winter, now you're like, man, I'm like craving some lighter foods. And so we're thinking about eating lighter and less heavy, essentially. And there's like all these fad diets. And so Vata would kind of be like the Atkins diet. And then spring would be more like maybe a vegetarian diet. And what's so great about all of this is that that means that you get to change what you eat every season. So as soon as you start to get sick of one type of food, you get to move to the next type of food. And this is great because a lot of like fad diets, you get sick of them and you can't do it forever. And so one of my favorite things about Ayurveda is we're always changing the way that we eat based on the season, and then food never gets old, and our diets are always changing. And it makes it a lot easier to keep up with eating well when you are like trying and eating different foods. Let's see. So, warm spices. So this is the best time of the year to start using more of these warm kitchen spices like turmeric, cayenne pepper, cumin, coriander. These are all very cleansing, and like cinnamon's great. Just anything that you can think, any spices that you think will be more of cleansing, because these are drying. They're hot, therefore they dry. And we're unstable and we're trying to melt that winter. So we want these like warmer spices. So if you're not putting spices on all of the food that you're making, then you need to start putting spices on all of your food. And it's really easy and it doesn't change the flavor really that much. It will, and it will actually make it taste better. But you can put these spices, you can find a way to spice everything that you eat with just a little bit of some of these warm spices. Black pepper is great this time of year. So just look up warm Ayurveda spices for spring, write them all down, and then try to apply at least one or two of them to every single meal. Sip warm lemon water in the morning. So I'm always suggesting that we be drinking warm lemon water in the morning before we have coffee or anything else. In the spring, this is a great time to have the lemon. In the summer, we would do more of like a lime because lime's more cooling, just like kind of showing how we would change maybe even this warm water. And then in the winter, we might even be doing more like adding ghee to our water. So we're adding a little bit more moisture because we're not trying to dry out. But now that we are in the spring and we are trying to dry a little bit, having a little bit of lemon in that water is going to help dry you out a little bit more. And then we want to eat the largest meal at lunch. So this is true with any season that we're in. We're always trying to eat our largest meal at lunch. But during the springtime, this is so important because we are our digestion is sluggish. It's not as working as good as it normally is, and we're trying to bring in lighter food. And so, if we have a really big lunch, then we are going to be less likely to want to have a big dinner. And this is the time of the year we want to make sure we're having like these light dinners that are happening by like 6 o'clock, no later than that. And a good light dinner is maybe bowl of soup or just something that actually goes in a bowl. And that will be easy for us to digest. And so while that digestion is in kapha and it's heavy, let's give our digestion a break every night by eating something really light, easy to digest, and making sure that we don't eat about 3 to 4 hours before we go to bed. Avoid snacking. So if you're just snacking all day long, then your digestion is always working and we're tiring it out. And then it's not going to be able to your body isn't going to always be digesting, so it's not going to be able to go in and do like the deeper cleaning work that it needs to do. And right now, with us like trying to melt the winter inside of us, we don't want to be constantly digesting. That's going to be way too heavy. And instead, we want to make sure that we are like more or less kind of melting away that winter. And in order to do that, we need to not be digesting so that the body can go in and do deeper work. And so if you are the type of person, I'm this type of person, I'm a Vata, like Pitta Vata through and through. And yes, I need to have a snack during the day in order to get through the day. So what I do is I'll have like lunch around noon, and then I'll have a snack around 3, and then I'll have dinner around 6. And then this way, it's giving my body plenty of time between each meal to digest, and I'm not just snacking all day. So it's kind of like a planned snack. And that's what I like to call a good snack is a planned snack. But if you're just snacking, you're standing up and you're snacking, you're grabbing for this and you're grabbing for that. This tends to happen in the kapha time of the year because we kind of are feeling dissatisfied and we might be kind of like trying to satiate ourselves with something. So just being aware of it and then avoiding it. And if you need a snack, it's a planned snack, no like random snacking. And then dry brush. The dry brushing is great. For some of us, it's going to be a little bit harsh. So I like to use like the gloves. You put them on your hand, they're kind of rough. I like to use those personally. But during the spring, this is actually when we'd want to like pull out the dry brush and get like crazy with it because our body is trying to like shed some of all that stuff we accumulated over the winter. And a dry brush is going to go in and get it deep. If you don't like a dry brush, it's too, it can feel kind of like too much. It feels like a lot to me because I don't have like a thick skin. Anyway, you're just gonna have to go off like your body type and what feels good to you. But dry brushing this time of year is going to be fantastic. You could also use like a salt scrub. It's going to be amazing. But yeah, we're trying to like shed and cleanse. So that's what we're thinking about in the spring. Neti pot. So, if you don't know how to use a neti pot, then look it up. There's probably a million videos on it, but essentially you're pouring like the warm salt water through the nasal passages and then out. So basically, this is also cleansing, and we can see like if you don't want to get congested, then we want to keep this whole area nice and cleansed too. So this is probably the best time of the year to do a neti pot if you want to start that practice. This is when, and this is the other thing I love about Ayurveda is we'll change our workouts throughout the year. So in the winter and the fall, then maybe our workouts are a little bit slower and a little bit more like strength training, right? But then in the spring, when we're kind of more trying to cleanse, then this is when we're going to want to do those like vigorous workouts where we're breaking a sweat. So this is, if you're the type of person who loves like hardcore workouts, this is the best time of the year to be doing those types of workouts. And if you don't love those types of workouts, totally fine. I don't do stuff like that either. Full disclosure. But this is a great time. Go hiking, go for more of a brisk walk because just a slow walk is not going to be enough. Getting the heart rate up is going to be necessary. You could ride a bike, anything that you like to do, find the workout that will work for you. That's why I always tell people like if you don't like doing it, then it's going to be really hard to follow through with. So find something that you like. I love doing Kundalini yoga. I find it very satisfying. And so it does get my heart rate up and it does get me breaking a sweat. And then on top of that, I love hiking and that will also get my heart rate up and me breaking a sweat. But seeing me like at some crazy workout studio is probably not going to happen. But I know that a lot of you really love stuff like that. And this is definitely the time of year for it. Let's see. Breath of fire and lion's breath. So this is in Kundalini yoga, or there's lots of different yogas teach this as well. But breath of fire is very like hot breath, so it's adding that like warming element, and it's also very light and dry, and so light and dry again. And then it also will cleanse the lungs, and the lungs are like what go out of balance during the kapha season because we'll get like accumulate that kapha here. And so breath of fire, I'm going to show you how to do it real quick. But this is one of the most cleansing breaths that you can do. And lion's breath is very similar to breath of fire. I'm going to show you that too. And I'm going to look really dumb when I'm doing both of these. So it'll be great. But let's start with breath of fire. So the way I like to teach breath of fire is for you to stick your tongue out like a dog. So you're like, and you're panting like a dog. And then, so you're going to keep that breath going. If you're not doing this, you really should try it. It feels really good. Pull the tongue in. And if you keep doing this, you're going to feel the mouth getting drier. You're going to feel the lungs starting to dry. And then you can even, and if you're doing it with your mouth open, this is more cleansing in the lungs, but we can also just do it through our nose. I'll try it through your nose. Good. And then lion's breath is just, then you inhale. And it's like you're, it's like, I like to think of it as I'm getting all of it out. But it's cleansing and it is clearing the lungs. And it's said that we store a lot of our emotions in our lungs. And so I also like to think of it as kind of like getting rid of a lot of that stagnant emotions and the heavier emotions like depression. And so we've kind of like getting all that out. Anyway, I did that way too many times. Um, Wake before sunrise. So if you are in the, okay, let's start. I like to start with the Vata. If you're in the Vata time of the year and things are light and unstable, then we might need to be like getting an extra hour of sleep here and there. And we definitely don't want to be sleep deprived during this time of year because we need like more of that nourishment. But in the kapha time of the year, we don't want to oversleep. And we want to make sure that we are waking up before the sun. And this is like, this is key. This is key. Real talk. If you wake up before the sunrise comes up, you're going to feel lighter. You're actually going to wake up faster. If you wake up after the sun has come up, you're going to feel heavier and it's going to be harder to wake up. And this is just a fact. Test it out. Like, seriously, give it a try. You'll find this out for yourself. This is true stuff, true talk. So if you want to make things a little bit lighter in the spring, then get up before the sun. And again, like in the Vata time of the year, when we might be needing a little bit more sleep and we might need a little more stability, then maybe waking up with the sun, like as the sun is coming up, actually doesn't feel so heavy. It actually feels kind of balancing. But now that we're kind of already like overly heavy, if we're waking up with the sun or after the sun, it will feel like you are a lot heavier. And so if you want to get rid of this feeling, you want to wake up easier, wake up about 20, 30 minutes before the sun. And then lastly, actually, let's stay with the sun thing really quick. This is no matter what time of the year it is. I want you all to go outside first thing within like 30 minutes of the sun coming up. And if you wake up way after the sun's been up, then still go outside and get sun into your eyes. Get the actual sunlight into your eyes. Do not take sunglasses. I'm not going to get into like all of the details about what this does, but we used to wake up and go outside immediately because we were already outside probably. And we needed to like, we do things outside in nature typically, but in our modern lives, we don't do anything outside and we're barely outside. We're barely out in nature. We're barely under the sun and this needs to change. But, and we all can do better, but definitely start your day by getting that sunlight in your eyes. That's the first thing I want you all to do. And then last but not least, this is a great time of the year to declutter. And we all hear about spring cleaning. And yeah, it's real. Get rid. We're feeling overwhelmed by all the junk in the house. This is when we are ready to like have a new start. So if you are feeling stuck, one of the best things you can do is like go declutter a junk drawer, go clean out the fridge. Just do one thing that's going to make you feel a little bit lighter and a little bit less overwhelmed, and just like watch what the magic of that one little like thing can do for your emotional well-being. So, and then the last, I like open the windows. Open your windows, get the fresh air in your house. Don't let all that stagnant air. Just get the air moving, get everything flowing. So you can think of Kapha time of the year as like when we're moving from Vata and we're feeling really heavy and we're wanting to cleanse and to lighten. And so all of these tips are going to help you lighten your load just a little bit and find a little bit more balance with that heaviness. And if you are feeling heavy, totally normal. Just do some of these practices or go for a walk and force yourself to do one thing on this list, and you will immediately start to feel a little bit lighter and a little bit better. So I hope this video is helpful. I'd love to know what rituals you plan on doing this spring, and I will see you in the next video.